traditional long-term care policy. You're purchasing a daily benefit, how much you want the policy to pay per day. You're purchasing how soon you want that policy to pay. That's called an elimination period or deductible. You're purchasing the benefit period, which is how long the policy will pay. You have optional benefits of home health care and of inflation rider. Those are the main 5. There are others, of course, that we could add on, but for time we won't go into all the details. But that's what you're actually purchasing. And when I look at mom and dad's situation, if they had bought the $100 a day policy that paid, say, for 3 years even, and had a deductible period of, say, 30 days, it would have just saved a tremendous out-of-pocket amount. Traditional long-term care insurance has changed a lot over the last 20 years. I did my first workshop on long-term care in 1986 at a St. Elizabeth Home Hospital, or St. Elizabeth Lunch and Learn program, and 150 people showed up, and it scared me to death. But it made me realize how big of a problem and how much concern there is about this issue. And obviously, since that time, in the last 20 years, the costs have continued to escalate, but fortunately the policies have become much more comprehensive and cover a great deal more than they did 20 years ago. For example, then they used Medicare language, pretty much saying if you had to have 3 days in the hospital before the policy would kick in, and that's no longer an issue with long-term care policies. The language in a policy is extremely important. Those little to's and froms and ands and ors can make a really big difference in whether a claim is going to get paid. So I pride myself on studying the policy language very closely so that I fully understand what it's going to take for that policy to be triggered and to pay claim. Now, you can't just buy a long-term care policy and say, oh gee, I'm really tired of taking care of myself, I think I'll just go to an assisted living or to a nursing home. The triggering mechanism for a long-term care policy is if you cannot perform 2 of 6 activities of daily living, or you have cognitive impairment or Alzheimer's. If you think about it, usually the first 2 activities of daily living that we lose is bathing and dressing. And that's usually because of a mobility issue. We've had some sort of surgery with an arm or a shoulder or a knee, and it makes it very difficult for us to maneuver getting our clothes on, getting in and out of the shower. And we really might be able to do it by ourselves, but it's dangerous for us to do so. So we call that standby assistance, where someone will be there while you're performing those acts. So that counts as not being able to perform the activities of daily living. The home care option is extremely important because most people, obviously, and I think you would probably agree, you'd like to receive your care at home. Through the years, my clients who have had claims with long-term care have started at home. And it's such a relief to know, in the case of a spouse and a caregiver, that the caregiver has assistance. So often you hear about the caregiver being the first one to become ill and pass on because they've worn themselves out taking care of someone. This way, it really frees up that caregiver to feel comfortable calling in support because they know the policy is going to pay a portion of that care. And if you're single, it can be just as important because it allows you, again, to stay in your home for as long as possible. And I think that we are living in a time when technology is going to be our best friend. It might be a little like Big Brother to us at first, but there's technology available now that measure our patterns within our home when we get out of bed, when we go to the bathroom, when we open the refrigerator, when we get in and out of our favorite chair. And if our pattern for the day is off, the computer will then notify a center that will try to call that person. If there's no answer, they have a line of contact people that they will go through to make sure that you're okay. Those are the kind of things that are really going to be helpful for us, and us meaning baby boomers, as we progress and need that type of care. The inflation rider, of course, is really important because a lot of people are buying these policies at an earlier age because they're considering what their options are. They're considering, first of all, they've seen a parent go through a similar situation to what I mentioned to you, and they're thinking, my goodness, what's going to happen with me? And so they're investigating what some of the options are for themselves.